to order. All right, everyone is here, so we won't be seating any alternates. Before I get into it, just real quick words from my end. Appreciate everybody being here. I got some big shoes to fill. My expectation is that we'll continue to work together and make progress for the people of the town. And I don't expect that to change. So, all right. So, any additions or changes to the agenda? Anything that we need to know there? Okay. So we're gonna do the approval of the regular meeting minutes from December 22nd. Did everybody have a chance to look at those? Any comments? Okay, we just need a motion to approve the minutes. Dave, and a second. Paul, all those in favor? Unanimous, opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous. Okay. Item number 5, we're going to move on to the continuation of the public hearing for the special permit application of WHL LLC for a new automobile dealership building per section 32.2 and 53.4.1 of Columbia zoning regulations at 15 and 21 Route 66 East and Cards Mill Road, map 009, lot 66, 68, zone CM-2. With a lot area of 6.776 acres. So with that, we'll continue the public hearing. John, let's start with you. Is there anything that we were waiting on some stuff from the applicant, but anything you want to add?
Sure. Yeah. So the pending items, to my understanding, were the DOT authorization for drainage that was associated then with some drainage calculations. We have received both of those items. The applicant's engineer, Killingley Engineering, submitted both the approval letter from DOT, which should be on the record, as well as their drainage calculations. The last thing that was pending was the approval of the Eastern Highlands Health District, which I believe is still pending, but we have Greg Glaude representing Killingley Engineering Associates and the applicant with us that can address that. They also submitted today a revision, and I'll turn it over to Greg. And Greg, if you want me to share my screen, I'm happy to do so.
Yep. Thank you, John. For the record, Greg Glaude, Killingley Engineering Associates. So John's correct in stating that we did receive all of our approvals from DOT. That's for drainage, and it's also for the work in the right-of-way, closing off some of the curb cuts and things of that nature. As far as the health department, there are basically two health departments looking at it. You have the state level, which is looking, because this is the number of employees, this is a public water supply system. All we're really doing is registering with them, and they're adding more employees to the wells that are there, or to this public well system. So that goes to the state level. Eastern Highlands sends it over to the state level. We're waiting to hear back from them. They did contact us about 4 weeks ago, looking for some firm numbers on number of employees. So we're waiting to hear back from them. And at that point, Eastern Highlands will do their review of the septic system. Again, the testing passed. It's just a formality, and I'm not sure if the holidays slowed down things or not. But so we're still waiting for that one item. We did submit new plans today, revised to today's date. One thing that I noticed on the maps that were missing was the floor drain. And I think, John, if you go to sheet number 5, but because the service area has floor drains, we wanted to show that there would be an oil water separator and also a holding tank. So we're not allowed to discharge that into a private septic system. So we have to discharge the floor drains into an oil water separator and then onto a holding tank. They already do it on site for the building that's there already. So we have two 1,000-gallon tanks. Again, one's an oil water separator. One is the holding tank. They'll get pumped on an as-needed basis. And that is by licensed companies that handle that and displace that in a similar situation, or in a safe situation. Very similar to when we did Columbia 4 years ago. We had holding tanks on site like that. So that is also, there's also a registration process with the oil water separator with the DEEP, but that doesn't happen until it's installed. It gets inspected basically by the engineer, and then we submit a form. So I just wanted to point that out, but we added those to the plan as well as the details. And then the only other thing that I wanted to add as part of my part of our presentation was, obviously we have the dealership over in Columbia that is currently Capital Dodge. That is not going to close completely. Basically, all the new cars and sales and service is going to come over here, but the auto body shop is going to remain over in Wyndham, as is some limited sales. So basically, some of the cars will still be over there. If you've been by that site, there's an awful lot of cars. They're all not going to fit here. A lot of those are going to stay there. Similar situation if you've been to other dealerships where they have multiple dealerships that are down the road. They may have some cars in one section and some cars. It's only a couple of miles away, but I don't think I pointed that out at the last public hearing. So I wanted to do that. But that's all that we have for new information. And I'll turn it back over to the commission if there's any further questions at this time.
Okay. John, anything else to add from that?
I do not, and I would just note that yeah, again, the missing pieces being health related, they'll not get any kind of final zoning or building permit until those things are in place. So in the past, this commission has considered doing a conditional approval, and delaying the signing and filing of the final Mylars until health permits are in place, but you're under no obligation to do so. So you could go either way on it.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have a huge audience, but if there's anyone in the audience who wants to speak directly to this as part of the public hearing, you're more than welcome to now. If you do, just make sure that it's appropriate to what we're discussing right now with this application, and just state your name and address for the record. And if there's no comments, that's fine too. Okay.
Yes, sir. Audience.
All right. Just see two, so we're good. Okay. All right. Commission, what do you guys think? What do you want to do? Any comments from the commission members?
This is just we do the conditional approval. We really have nothing to weigh in on septic issues.
Yeah.
No from water supply issues.
Yep.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
I agree too.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Okay, I totally agree. I think we're in a position, it's a very simple conditional approval. So with that, John, if we do a conditional approval, is there anything else that the commission should consider, other than just closing the open public hearing and moving on?
I don't think so. I'm gonna ask Savannah if you think we should request any kind of erosion and sedimentation. The site is pretty flat. Again, it's pretty much impervious to impervious, but I don't know if you would want to see, if necessary, put in place a bond.
I don't know about a bond. I'm sorry, I don't have the site plan in front of me, but does it show erosion controls in front of the isolated wetland in the rear?
I can bring that up.
Thanks.
And Greg,
Yeah, we do not have any. Yeah.
There is.
You
I'm
know.
sorry. Say that again. There is not.
No, we did not add any to it.
Okay.
I think that would be the most that I would consider is adding compost filter sock. It's kind of preferential to anything else on the market right now if you can do that.
Yep, no, we're not opposed to that. We're fine with that.
That would be my only recommendation. I don't really think a bond is necessary because the site's open, as you I mean open, but it's already been developed.
Right.
So-
Okay. So you would suggest that the plan be modified to put in place erosion controls to protect the wetlands to the
resource in the rear. Yeah, I mean, although like I said, this it's not going before the Wetlands Commission because it's not, there's no new work, it's just painting within the upland review, but
right.
That's what I would suggest. Yeah.
Okay. That would be it from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So John, would we be looking at two conditional approvals, one for the Eastern Highland approval and the second for the modification to include erosion control?
It would actually be
in the motion.
It would actually be three. The Eastern Highlands for the septic approval, Connecticut DPH for the public water supply approval, and third would be placement of erosion control.
Okay. All right. With that, if the commission sees fit to close the public hearing, we can go that direction and then take it up into the next order of business. So I would make a motion to close the public hearing for the special permit application for WHL LLC. We have a second? Walt? All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, thanks. All right. So we're gonna move on to the unfinished business for the same permit application, discussion of possible action. So I think that we're in a spot, unless anyone else disagrees at this point, where we can do a conditional approval. So does anybody want to bring anything up before we move that direction? All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the special permit application for WHL LLC for a new automobile dealership building for section 32.2 and 53.4.1 with the following conditions. And John, speak up if I get this wrong. So Eastern Highlands approval for septic, CT DPH approval for water, and to also include a plan to modify erosion control.
To install erosion control.
Install erosion control, thank you.
And I would put tack on the end of that, that all of those are conditions and need to be satisfied before the signing and filing of final Mylars.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on motion? We have a second. Well, okay. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Thanks, Mr. Glon. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on. New business, election of officers. So have a quick discussion on this. So we are currently without a vice chair. I may have from time to time not make the meetings, or I can walk out of here and get hit by a bus. Something bad happened, so we kind of need to operate with a vice chair. So one of the things that I want to just mention is, in order to do what we need to do for the people of the town, we have to have a vice chair. So I want to make sure that, you know, we understand that and that we hopefully get someone tonight and move forward. So with that, unless there's any other discussion, I'll open it up for nominations for a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Nancy Hammerstone for vice chair.
Okay, so Rick nominates Nancy. Okay, are there any other nominations?
I was just, can we discuss?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I was gonna say we wait, because there are a couple more, nothing I can do, there's a couple of new people coming on. From our end,
Okay,
within a month, they both, you know, we're gonna have a Democratic opening and an alternate. And I didn't know if you wanted to wait till that process went through in a month,
okay.
or you can do it now, I don't know, it's up to you.
I kind of prefer to do it now, just,
That's fine.
but we don't have to rush right now. So is it, if anybody has any comments or anything to add to that too, I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to comment.
I agree with Tom. If there's a bigger field that we can draw from, then we ought to take advantage of that.
Okay,
It'll be the next meeting of the following one,
okay.
it's gonna be quick.
So the timing work out to where before next meeting, we'll have something, we'll go through the board of selectmen and okay. All right, yeah. Okay. Is there any other discussion around that? Rick, I mean, you made a nomination,
So
so,
nomination's still on the table.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to wait.
okay. Here's the,
Like that, right?
what's that?
I think we have to act on the nomination.
Yeah.
We do.
There's a nomination on the table. Here's the other challenge with this. If something gets delayed with anybody who could be appointed, I mean, then we're still stuck without a vice chair. And I think that,
Let's do it.
yeah. So as long as everybody's okay with it, I think that's probably the best thing to
I'm
do.
more wanting to get it on the table if that was gonna be an option.
Okay, no, that's totally fair. So, all right. So unless anybody objects, we'll keep everything open to nominations. So we have one for Nancy. Are there any other nominations?
You interested, Dave?
Well,
I
I'm
nominate
nominating
Dave.
myself.
I nominate Dave.
Okay, so Dave Holcroft. All right. Any other nominations? Okay,
So Dave already the secretary?
he is, so that by bylaws and everything, if he were to be seated as vice chair, he would have to verbally resign from the secretary position and then send in a written resignation. So, all right, no other nominations? Okay. All right, let's go to a vote. So we'll start with Nancy. So anyone who would like Nancy to be vice chair, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And for Dave, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, thanks. Yeah, Dave, you'll have to resign as
Resign as
yeah, and then
secretary.
a letter of resignation.
To this first selectman?
No, to Robin. Yeah. So thanks. All right, thank you.
I want to nominate for secretary.
Can we do that now?
Can I ask
Really?
Can I ask a quick question now?
Yeah.
What does the secretary do for this commission? Because Mary Kay is here.
Yeah, it's, so according to the bylaws, they have some duties, but in the absence of Mary Kay, so they really have not done
Yeah, it's
anything.
Mary Kay, the whole thing.
Pretty much.
That's exactly.
So we'll talk about the bylaws a little bit later, but it's kind of a position without too much of a duty to. It's not that big of a deal. So why don't we just do that now then, if we can. So let's open the floor to nominations for secretary. So do we have any nominations for secretary?
I'll nominate Nancy.
Okay,
Decline.
okay. We have another nomination.
I mean,
You've seen
if it's
the duties of the secretary.
fair, you know, but I can handle it.
Are there any?
I nominate Mark.
All right, so we got Marnie. Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor of Marnie being secretary, please raise your hands. 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? And abstentions? Okay, let's see what's abstentions. All right, thank you. Okay, all right, congratulations, guys. Let's move on to 7.2. It's probably a pretty short meeting. So, one of the things, I had a conversation with Mary Kay yesterday, along with John and Savannah, about just member resources. So, one of the things that I think have been done in the past is there have been folders or binders with copies of the regulations in them. So Mary Kay's going to have some of those printed out for next meeting. I always have them up on my computer. It's good to be able to reference them, but you'll be able to keep them updated so that everybody will be able to have a copy of them, so that we can reference them throughout the meetings. And then she'll just bring them up and hold on to them. So any sort of reference material or resources, I definitely want to make sure that everybody has the right stuff. The other piece to it, and then I'll just open it up in case anybody has any comments on what you think could be provided or might need. Next meeting, I'll have Mary Kay print out the bylaws, which we have, and I'll just say this for a little bit of embarrassment. I didn't realize that the commission has a separate set of bylaws. They're not very in depth. I mean, they're a good guideline. They have some good information about the officers and about the conduct of the meetings. Looks like they were revised in 2014 was the last time. So in future meetings, we may want to kind of go through them and just make sure that they're updated and meet any standards that we want to have for today. But we'll make sure that we get those printed out and they are helpful. So is there anything, maybe this is more for the newer members too, but anything that you guys can think of as far as resources that you might need? I mean, this is the time to discuss it, but we'll also revisit it later. And there will also be training requirements. It could be, like Jason and I spoke yesterday, it could be picking the brain of John or just meeting up and doing stuff like that. So John and Savannah, I think, will want keep that door open, obviously, which I know you always do. So is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up around that? Okay, all right, so we'll have that stuff for next meeting. If you think about stuff between now and then, that'll work out fine.
Justin,
Yes,
no, if you'd like, I think I was having the email problems this time. I had sent to you last week, I think, a markup of the bylaws with some proposed changes.
you did. I'll
okay.
get with you. The markups didn't show up on my copy. I'm sorry, I just didn't reply to you. So I'll have
okay.
yeah, I'll get back with you. I didn't see the notes on them, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we'll
I think
definitely do that.
a couple of just minor edits that I'd recommend, but yeah, we can deal with that later.
Yeah, no problem. All right, any other questions or comments? All right. Regulation revision. So we have our next meeting on January 20th at 1 p.m. So we'll continue the discussion around regulation revisions. I'm not going to chair that anymore. Rick, do you want to stay involved with you? Okay, and Walt, okay, and Jason. So we'll work together as a group to figure that out. But and you guys want to bring up anything on regulation revisions at this point? Okay, no. All right. So we've got some ideas. We're working towards some changes. All right, communications and reports, John or Savannah.
I don't think I have anything significant. No, we're going to make a couple of proposed edits to the zoning regs, and we'll do that for next week's meeting. But otherwise, I think it's been pretty quiet in the land use office, at least as far as I'm concerned. Savannah, you've been probably busier than I have.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with ongoing zoning violations, but nothing major to mention. But of course, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to dive into depth about it.
Any questions for John or Savannah?
I think it'd be interesting to hear maybe one thing that you had to deal with this week, in the last week, or since our last meeting even.
Yeah, sure. So today actually, of discussion was the hoarding case at 589 Route 87. I don't know if anyone is aware, but the town obtained a judgment so that we may go and remove items from the property. It was deemed blighted because there was hoarding of cars and various automobile materials, as well as motorcycles and many other things. So it was last spring, we did phase one where we removed items from the adjacent properties, not his main house property, but the ones next to it. We had a discussion today about how to initiate phase two and if to initiate phase two, because frankly, that property owner has been through a lot with a fire at his house, the house being condemned. He's not living there right now. He hasn't really added new materials. So the conversation today was with Stephen. Justin was present, Mark Walter. We discussed whether or not to go in for phase two, and we decided at this time to hold off, but to continue reaching out to Jay and requesting his compliance by removing blighted items. Not sure if he'll continue to remove blighted items, but I think, kind of keeping in mind that he has tried and we have gotten some stuff off of there. I see it as some progress, and I think that's where we all landed. So if you guys have any input or questions on it, I'm open to hearing it. I would definitely welcome a discussion.
Yeah, any comments on that?
No, I have a minor update. It's like
Sure,
a peek into the world of the land use office. So we received a confirmation letter today from the Capital Region Council of Governments, our regional planning agency, that based on some revised requests, Doubleday Road and what's the road that comes off of 66 that meets Doubleday? Pine
Street. Fine.
Has been reclassified by the state as minor collectors. We had hoped to make them major rural collectors, this is just a road classification schema. And if they were considered major collectors, then they would be eligible for for lot SIP, which is local transportation capital improvements program funds, because Doubleday Road needs to be resurfaced, repaved. So we're looking for state money to do that. But it was just considered a rural road before. We sought to jump up basically 2 steps to a major collector. We were denied that despite some traffic counts being sort of marginally qualifying. But instead, the DOT and CROG offered us sort of the interim step of minor collector that we could then upgrade at some point in the future to make it eligible. So, a little transportation labeling chicanery happening, and hopefully we'll continue to make progress on that, so it'll be eligible for a broader range of grant money. But still needs to be paved, so we'll see what we can do.
Thanks for the update. The other thing Savannah and I talked about today was reviewing the zoning enforcement list, probably on a quarterly basis. So she and I are going to talk about doing that and making sure that that's in front of everybody, and we have the opportunity to go through it with her. So we'll be doing that as well. So. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else there, we're gonna move on to commission open discussion. Is there anything the commission wants to bring up, Tom?
Hi, I just wanted to let everybody know this is my last meeting.
Oh.
I am resigning. I've started in, I believe it was October of 2009. So I've been here a while, and we have a couple of good people coming on board that I think will be good members also. Just getting old and getting out in the winter at 7 o'clock is just not appealing to me anymore.
All right. Well, we won't take it personally. So.
No, I've had a great time. I mean, with the exception of Rick, I look around and I was thinking of Navi and some of the other folks that used to, EJ and Donnie and so, the whole thing has changed, and that just turned over, which should. I think you've got a great group of people here. I think you'll do a great job. And I might pop in once in a while, just make sure you behave.
We hope you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Tom, sincerely, like you're genuinely one of my favorite people, and I'm really gonna miss seeing you go. If I knew that this was gonna be your last meeting, I wanted to patch you a gift or something. But we'll have to catch up later. But thank you for everything that you've done in all your years of service.
It's been interesting.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
You'll be missed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. All right. Any other discussion?
Are we back to the POCD on the next meeting?
Yes. We're planning to review the transportation section, the transportation and infrastructure section on the 26th. And then following that, I believe that's the last substantive chapter to be reviewed, and then we'll start talking about implementation, pulling it together, and scheduling a public hearing.
Making good progress on that for sure. So. Anything else?
I went to Mary, I'm not gonna be able, the tax assessor, talk about that map from the ag, that was the 499 walls.
PA 490 map.
And apparently that was she claimed that was a mapping issue. For the mapping people in the building, and so there's John, correct me if I'm wrong, is there somebody that does mapping in the building and land use department?
No, we have a contract with a GIS service provider. Yeah.
So that claim was that was a mapping issue, I guess, and that can be fixed, I guess, by turning different things on and off. And so Mary's going to try to provide that to me or to you, John.
Yeah, I can stop by her office tomorrow when I'm at town hall, and we can get that resolved.
That's it.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Jason.
Well, yes. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Let's move on to audience of citizens. If anybody in the audience has anything to say, if you don't mind just stating your name and address for the record.
Well, I'm the only one here.
Yeah, I think you're somebody online, love it, yeah.
My name is Allie, Allison Saunders. I live at 3 July Drive, and I'm here on a little bit of a selfish matter, but also I feel obliged to bring up some of these issues because it's concerning to me as a resident. I'm not a first generation resident of Columbia. I'm actually a 5th generation resident of Columbia. My kids live here too. My great grandparents lived here. My grandparents lived here. My mom, my family, they were that generation. I'm 4th. My kids are 5th, I guess. So, we moved back to town and we bought a beautiful home. It would be our dream home. And, we have a not great situation with our neighbors. I know, Justin, you're familiar with it. But we ended up moving in and our neighbors, it's almost ridiculous. They built a like 40-foot teepee in their backyard and they also put up a like 40-foot tarp fence that spans probably 70 feet or more. I mean, I'm talking, this thing is massive. The tarp fence is a collection, a kaleidoscope rather, of browns, blacks, blues, bright red sheeting, and it's all connected by trees and poles. So I took this seriously. I immediately had gotten in touch with Savannah about it over the summer, and I said, I want to make you aware that this is here. And during that time, she insisted to put in a violation complaint, which at the time I was actually working with an attorney because I figured this would end up being a civil matter. So I wanted the attorney to weigh in before I put in a formal violation. But when it came down to nuts and bolts of it, working with the attorney would have cost me a retainer of almost $10,000 to get this taken care of. So, you know, we have kids, so I'm trying to save for their college education and we're trying to like live our lives like normal people. So at that point, I decided to put the violation in later in the year myself. But before I put the violation in, she wouldn't come out and take a look at the matter. So that was a little bit upsetting. But regardless, I waited and I did the violation myself. The violation was formally put in on December 3rd, and I waited until, I actually have some dates, so you're gonna have to bear with me. So violation was, I drove here and I dropped it off on December 4th, the violation receipt was acknowledged by Savannah via email. On 12/10, I emailed Savannah, I was looking for an update on the situation because I hadn't heard anything back. And on 12/11, she told me that a violation was being issued for this massive tarp fence. It was right on the property line, like directly on our property line. So this is like, you cannot, if I showed you pictures, and I'm gonna be appealing it, and I will come with pictures, and if you were to envision how big this is, it would look like an ant versus the size of a dog. I mean, it's absolutely massive. It's huge. And you see it from every single window of my house, from every part. You can see it from the street. You can see it from through the woods 2 houses away. It's massive. Absolutely massive.
What's the property address?
5 July Drive. And it's not for any purpose other than we don't get along with our neighbors. So they did this to be vindictive out of spite because there's literally no purpose. It is not for containment. They don't have kids. They don't have pets. It's made out of tarping. It's not for privacy. They actually have a 6-foot fence. It's not for security. It's not for shade because we have like one of the oldest, probably historic trees in the entire neighborhood. Massive 300-year-old oak that provides nothing but shade to that backyard. So there's literally no purpose. I would be compelled to know what the thing is for. It makes no sense at all, other than to just be vindictive. Again, I'm not disagreeing that we don't have a good relationship with them. I'm just saying it's there. Okay, and it's right in our face. It's right on our property line. So, the violation was issued on 12/11. On 12/15, I followed up, confirming the violation was issued. I was wondering like what's going on at this point. She said, let's see, on 12/22, follow up on the initial violation on, okay, so she followed up on the initial violation from 12/11 on 12/22. So already many days have gone by. On 12/23, she acknowledged, 12/23, yeah, when the second letter be issued. So, on 12/23, I was following up with her again, asking when the second letter would be issued and what happens next, because already 10 days had gone by and the tarp fence was still up because the original violation on 12/11 was saying you need to take it down by this date. But by that date had come and gone, nothing had happened. So here I am following up again. And basically the violation was still in effect and the tarp fence was still up. She said that she was talking with them and they were working to be compliant. So at this point, she considered them compliant, which at that point, in my opinion, they were not compliant at all because the tarp fence was still up and it was like way past the date that the thing was originally supposed to come down, and it was in violation for a bunch of reasons anyways. So long story longer, 1/5, I followed up again and I was informed that they never received the mail, that the letter was never received by the neighbors. They said that they didn't get it. So she had said that she tapped them on the shoulder after on 12/29 or something thereabouts. So they were really supposed to have this thing down before Christmas, but before New Year's, she's saying, hey, did you get the letter or something to that effect? I can't be exactly sure. She did share with me an email that was put into the street file saying that, you know, she talked at the commission about it, that Savannah talked at the commission, and they told her that this is how they wanted it handled, that if they moved the tarp fence off the property line 25 feet, that it would be approved. So I don't know. Anyhow, that really surprised me. I asked, what is the process? Like, when are they supposed to get the second letter? What's the violation moving forward? How long is it? You know, like, what's the process here? And she said it's completely discretionary. Savannah said it was complete. I have all of this in email. It's completely discretionary. So because they were working to be compliant, really nothing was going to get done. Which, of course, on Friday she did a walkthrough with them. So the tarp fences never came down. I mean, we're talking 40 days from the date of the violation, or when I put in the violation complaint. Since that process, 40 days has gone by. They never took the tarp fence down. They moved the tarp fence 25 feet off the property line, which really isn't very far, to be fair, because it's just such an obtuse structure. I mean, you could move it back 100 feet. It shouldn't be there because of the nature of it. And she approved it on Friday. And so I'm here today because I have to appeal this, but it's going to be at a cost to me, significant cost, because it's something around the tune of $700 just to appeal it alone. I've already spent money working with attorneys, but I just thought that there's too much control for somebody to have to make a decision like that, to approve something like this, and to say, like, there's no due process, it's completely discretionary. They can make the decision to say it's fine, even though they got the violation, it can stay up until they're good and ready to move it. Or, you know, a lot of the conversations that I've had with Savannah, a lot of the stuff is her interpretation, what she considers reasonable. I mean, these are things that are just so vague that it puts somebody like in a position like mine, where I really want this thing down. It's ruining our home life. That her discretion, her opinion is like, it could be anything, right? Like, what do I have? I just can say, okay, that's fine, it's her discretion. Like, it's almost like the zoning regulations just go right out the window. Because in the zoning regulations, there's a part of it that says that structures have to be harmonious with the environment and the neighborhood setting. It's not harmonious. It's literal in there, have to be harmonious. It's not harmonious. It's 12 or 13 sheets of different color tarping. And there's nothing like that around. There's also a teepee back there, which is a dwelling in Native American cultures, so there's 2 dwellings in the property that was also permitted right on the property line. So I'm just here to say I'm concerned about this discretionary type of consideration for matters of this nature and what kind of effect it has on the citizens.
Okay.
Because it's not really fair to us.
All right, well, I know you're frustrated. I appreciate you coming in and explaining all that. What I don't want to do is, Savannah's here, and you know, I've been kept in the loop as far as kind of what the process has been done lately since just coming into the chairmanship. So, Savannah, what I don't want to do is, you know, go back and forth, but if there's anything that you want to clarify or make a comment on in regards to what Ally's concerns are, I feel it's appropriate for you to bring that up.
Yeah, just a couple kind of big statements that were inflated a little bit. So the fence is not 40 feet, it's 16 feet. It is 25 feet back from their side yard setback in the rear lawn. At this point, they have moved it to be in compliance, which is meeting the 25-foot setback and the height restriction in the residential agricultural zone, which is 35 feet. I did act and respond when I see the violation, as I would with any other violation. I do want to note that there were a lot of inconsistencies in what I just heard, and I would be happy to provide you the emails that clarify everything and the letter I sent with the actual text and the numbers. And if you would like those, you know, by all means, I'd be happy to give you a copy. But the letter had stated, I think this is a big point to clarify, please remove the fence in 10 days, or you may come and apply. I don't think I said or, that wasn't my exact word. I said the other option is to apply for a building permit and move the fence 25 feet back. So in my conversation with the property owner, they chose to do that. We received their building permit. And so at that point, I considered it, you know, under compliance. They were working to obtain compliance, and that's what I would consider for any property owner in town. If they're showing that they want to make things right, then we work with them. You know, I'm not here to police them. So that's all I'd like to say.
Did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
I did, if I might. For the record, John Guskowski, town planner. I'm also an appointed zoning enforcement officer in addition to Savannah. And I would just, and while I very, very much appreciate that neighbor conflicts can be very challenging and very stressful, and I don't wish to make this worse, I just want to remind everyone in attendance that this is not the venue. That this commission appointed Savannah and myself on an interim basis to read, interpret, and enforce the regulations. If someone has a problem with the way that we are enforcing, interpreting, and reading them, their recourse is the Zoning Board of Appeals. It is not to come to planning and zoning for an airing. And I mean, you know, obviously this is this resident's right because it's citizen comment and it's open discussion. But for recourse, the path is Zoning Board of Appeals, and that is available to her, and that is the proper venue. It is not for this commission at this time to look through evidence of complaints and responses and enforcement. That's you have delegated that to staff. So it's important for you to know what's going on, but it is not up to you to litigate this one. That's for ZBA.
Appreciate that, John. I want to make sure that we reiterate to have.
Yeah, so that was clear that I just here to basically say I'm concerned about how the due process went and the difference between having an accountable timeline for zoning to stick to and just kind of letting it like mellow out the way that they feel like it's due, you know.
I understand. So we're going to continue to watch the process and how things will go. So yeah,
just a couple of points.
Yes.
You mentioned a fee for an appeal.
Yeah,
To that's my knowledge, there is no fee to appeal a zoning enforcement agent's ruling to the zoning board of appeal. That's not an application process. Correct me if I'm wrong, there is no fee to make that appeal.
Website that there was.
Savannah, correct?
I think there is a fee. I would have to confirm with Terry, but
Yeah,
I think there is.
there's legal notice in the newspaper. The town has to incur publication fees for it. I believe there are fees to cover that.
I would double check that because it's my belief that simply the zoning board of appeal has the appeal process is not necessarily a public appeal. It's an appeal of the process of the ruling, not what's publicly noticed. So the idea that there's a fee for that, I do not believe that that's correct. That's the first point. The other thing is very likely, and this is a civil issue, and I don't want to give any legal advice, almost certainly there are covenants for that subdivision.
There are.
And so unfortunately it costs money because it's a civil process, but there may be a potential to recover it. And if you talk to an attorney,
I have talked with an attorney, and the attorney advised me that the best route to go is with the town first because there are blatant regulations that are being broken.
Okay.
So,
And so I don't mean to weigh in on a legal.
No, it's okay. That's fine.
But you may want to explore that also. And I don't know what the result of that exploration.
Right. Well, let's understand that Rick's comment is well taken. We can follow up as needed. Do you want to? Okay, so you're showing the fee structure here, John. Are you showing that?
Yeah, this is the zoning board of appeals application that includes variances and appeal of ZEO decisions, which this would be that type of application. This is the fee structure. There is no non-fee, unfortunately.
I didn't realize that. I apologize for what I said.
What is the 660 of PH? What does that mean?
Public hearing?
Okay.
All right. So we're dealing with a couple different things here. The regulations themselves, we can always have further discussions about that. The process really is what we're discussing here. So what I want to make sure is that we hear you, that the commission members have the opportunity to discuss it, but there's a lot of truth to the process has to play out, right?
I understand.
Right. So
The other thing Rick just mentioned, and I don't know if everybody understands, that particular subdivision, I think, does have covenants that go with it.
They do.
And so that would be good to see for Savannah. I don't know if Savannah.
I did provide them to her already.
Okay.
If
But
they're
she should
homo,
be involved in
they're-
Yeah.
civil.
That's like an HOA, I understand that.
All right, guys, hold on one second. We really have to stick to what we have control over and what we can appropriately discuss. If we're getting into other legal discussions, it's probably not appropriate, so. So let's stick with what we have control over and what we can keep an eye on, okay? John, did someone online say something?
yeah, just very, very quickly. If the subdivision had covenants associated with it that are managed by a homeowners association, it is likely that the town is not party to that and would not enforce HOA covenants. That would be for the association itself.
Yeah, I think we always have to be cognizant of where things start, where they begin when it comes to an appropriate zoning map, and that's, we hear you and we'll keep an eye on things, but we got to let the process take place.
Well, just to be clear, the process was extremely long for a 10-day violation. It took 40 days, probably 7 days before she even came out to look at the matter because she was so busy. I didn't realize there were so many violations in Columbia that would require somebody to not come out for an entire week. And I'm not directing that at anyone. It's just, these are statements to be thoughtful about.
Yeah,
These
so
are things to be
things that-
thoughtful about.
Yeah, the things that we can consider and there's positions generally don't just have one job that they're doing either, so, right, so. Okay, any other comments at this time? All right, we don't have executive session, so we would just need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Tom, last meeting, do we have a second? Marty, all those in favor? All right, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tom.
I figured it was appropriate.
Yeah. Been done by a bigger guy.
Thank you, Mary Kay.
Thank you guys.
Yep.
Yes.
You happy?
Yeah.
Oh,